this is your first or second time here, hope you enjoyed the video. If this is your third time here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can stay updated on when I post. Now, it's been storming here for the last few days, and as thoughts often do, mine drifted from wonderful thunderstorms we're having, making it just so wonderfully muggy outside, to Fallout because, well, I play a lot of Fallout. So, what I was thinking is sandstorms. Figure the Mojave'd have quite a few of them. One of the few examples of sandstorms we come across in New Vegas is over top of the Brotherhood of Steel's bunker at nighttime. This is said to be a defensive mechanism of the bunker as to keep people away from it. It also seems to jam communications. After all, we have a quest that is given by the Brotherhood of Steel if you don't bring Veronica there, where you have to make a ranger that's stationed in one of the other shut-down bunker entrances. And the job that the Brotherhood of Steel gives to you, after strapping a bomb collar onto you anyway, is to get him to leave, right? Now, the entire idea of this quest is that he has a radio in the bunker, and he's trying to broadcast out, but the signal is spotty. Especially when the sandstorm's coming up, he pretty much has no signal out of the bunker whatsoever. Makes sense that the Brotherhood's bunker, which is an old military base that uses this sandstorm as a defensive measure, would have all communications cut due to this artificial sandstorm that the bunker creates. It's how the Brotherhood has stayed so isolated for so long with no one catching a stray signal from their base at any point in time. Even Mr. House only remotely knows where they are because they destroy his Securitrons if they get too close, so he was able to narrow it down that way. Now, this sandstorm made me think, if the United States government had this type of technology to hide and obfuscate military bases, why wouldn't they have used it elsewhere? Now, the entire idea of hiding a military base with a weather phenomenon or something else isn't unique to Fallout. There was an entire weapons manufacturing facility that was hidden under a fake neighborhood during World War II, if memory serves me correctly. It just looked like a normal neighborhood, but the reality of it is the little hill it was built on, the little neighborhood's hill there, wasn't actually a hill. It was just a very elaborate ploy to build a factory underneath it. It's quite interesting, quite interesting. So what I figured is, okay, well, the Brotherhood stay isolated because of the sandstorm, that's cool. But then it got me thinking of a place we all go to, a place we all have to go to in-game anyway. We want to have fun and beat it. And that's the Divide. More specifically, the weird irradiated sandstorms of the Divide. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. First, we have to talk about the Divide and the strangeness that is that area. Now, the Divide is a strange place, even before the bombs were detonated there. The Divide was two towns, Hopeville and Ashton. Ashton exists in real life. It's along the 95 out of Vegas to the northwest, which puts it along a major road. And as we know, Vegas and the surrounding areas weren't too hardly hit, whilst California and whatnot were. The Divide is not too far from the California border. So what I was wondering was, the Divide, since we know that vast amounts of military infrastructure were built under the Divide, almost like these places were built over top of it to obfuscate it, the cities of Asheville and Hopeville. It made me wonder if such a large place, two pre-war towns and or cities, could exist for so long without the New California Republic or any other settlement coming across them since the end of the Great War. So I started to figure, okay, well, how could this place, like, it has all of the military infrastructure, it can stay independent. That's not the problem. After all, I've already covered the different types of military infrastructure that would allow even a vault to be completely independent without needing huge fields of food and the like. And then I thought, okay, it's along a main road, so they must have had a way to shut down the main road. And then I thought, okay, well, what if the storms that rage in the Divide, what if they're not natural? What if they weren't caused by some strange goings-on with the warheads there either? What if the military infrastructure of the Divide is protected with the same type of apparatus, device, system as the Brotherhood of Steel's bunker in the Mojave? It would make sense, it's not too far from it. It could have been a specialized system used just for the desert region of the United States. There were most likely other styles used for elsewhere in the different regions of the country to obfuscate those bases. So I figured, okay, well, communications are cut off when this storm rages on. So what if, when the nukes started to fall, they just activated this defensive system? Let the storm rage on, and After the Great War, they reached out, took in as many survivors as they could during the strange reclamation period, which was between, in some areas, as short as 6 months before people died off, and up to maybe 2 years of trying to rebuild afterward before disease and whatnot took people. Maybe that's where a lot of the smaller towns and the like went to in that area. And then they just closed the gates, so to speak. Turned on the sandstorm and just let the rest of the world deal with its shit while they became a small slice of utopia. It also makes it extremely understandable why it was so hard for people to find ways into and out of the Divide beforehand. Why only Courier 6, your character, was one of the few that could make it into and out of the Divide. They very well could be from the Divide, as Ulysses hints at. Now, he was able to make it in by following your character. So I believe that the Sandstorm of the Divide is just another defensive system put in place before the pre-war to allow the obfuscation and defense of the military infrastructure of the Divide. So let's skip ahead now. We know that the Sandstorm was always there. They kept the Divide separate and away from everyone else. That's why the NCR never found it. That's why Caesar's Legion never found it until they started following certain people, right? Now, and this is where we get into the weeds a little bit here. Why was the Divide destroyed? A lot of people just think it was a simple accident. The NCR found something that had the iconography, that's the word, of the Divide on it and sent it back to maybe open up diplomatic relations with the Divide so that they could, well, as the NCR always does, tries to assimilate the Divide. Caesar's Legion does what Caesar's Legion does and tries to stop the NCR every step of the way. So they send troops there, Ulysses being one of them. I personally don't think any of that's actually true, though. There's a few different theories, just gonna toss out. One of them more likely than the others, but here we go. First one here is Navarro. The device that was sent to the Divide by the NCR, the New California Republic, by way of your courier going into the Divide, was an ICBM launch device, primed and ready to go. This device was found at Navarro, an old Enclave installation. Now, the Enclave they've always been the boogeyman of Fallout. And the thing about the Enclave is they are the remnants of the United States government. When the bombs fell, the government squirreled off into their bunkers and still thinks they're in charge of the wasteland that they refuse to protect anyone in. That, realistic. But the Enclave uses United States iconography. The flag, the circular ring of stars, they just replace the central star of the flag of Fallout for the United States with their E. So it's pretty much the exact same flag, just with an E on it, just hanging out. Now, if the New California Republic happened upon Navarro, found this device that had old United States iconography on it, so the circular stars, but with a 14th star in the center, and decided, hey, this looks almost exactly the same as the Enclave's markings, this is a problem. Because we know this place out there that we know very little about also has these markings there. What if it's a hidden Enclave city? And if this device, which you know the Enclave had full information on, that it was an ICBM, an intercontinental ballistic missile launch system, if the NCR realized that, hey look, this is able to shoot off nukes, and there's this entire advanced area that may be the Enclave's like home city, they might have nukes, and that's not good. So what do? They tinker with the device to automatically chain detonate the nukes there in the Divide. After all, if this place is run by the Enclave, there's no being diplomatic with them. Especially if the Enclave there learned that, well, what the NCR had been doing to them, so to speak. So they prime it up, they send it home with the courier, with a time delay on it. They didn't realize the courier could get back so quick, so he gets there, delivers it, heads off on his next delivery, and then bang. Chain detonation goes off, either directly shooting some of the nukes into the air, as we see with the courier's mile, or just chain detonating them under the ground, splitting the Divide in half, giving it the name the Divide. Either which way, it would have played hell with everything there, as we see when we go there. I'm going to get more into the hell that was created afterward, but first, let's talk about some of the other, well, like the other theory or two that I have. The second one revolves around the second, antagonists in Fallout New Vegas, Caesar's Legion. Caesar tries to assimilate as many different tribes as he can. It doesn't matter if they're lower down or higher up, if they used sophisticated technologies and stuff in the past, like twin mothers. He will assimilate them and bring their knowledge into the legions so that he can use it. What he does not like is high-tech excess. It's harder to maintain, it's harder to upkeep. He wants to go back to a more simplistic style first to better build up a good foundation before trying to advance. Understandable. So if he would have learned about the Divide, especially the nukes that the Divide had, I personally do not think that he would want to use them against the NCR, because that would mean huge swaths of area just gone that the Legion could not conquer. He wouldn't want that. He would want the Legion to continue to expand. So he most likely had his Fumentari, his spies, that were in the NCR. Maybe they pushed the correct buttons to get this device sent back to the Divide, primed and ready to go as some form of olive branch from the NCR, when the reality of it is he knew what it was going to do. And he would sacrifice as many of the Legion as he needed to be able to accomplish this, along with as many NCR soldiers as he could get there, which could explain why the marked men are a little pissed off and working together in the Divide. Any which way, at this point, all roads lead to Rome. The Divide was bombed. Be it the nuclear warheads underground, chain detonating, ripping the place in two, or be it sky detonations, setting off tectonic activity, splitting the Divide. Could be a number of things. But the largest issue that happened afterward was the defensive system of the Divide never shut off. The Sandstorm that kept the Divide safe, that kept the Divide separate from the rest of the world, was still going. But now it had run wild. Instead of being able to just block communications, it's like a pressure sander, which is bad enough unto itself, but you have to understand that since this area is mostly sand, a nuclear weapon going off above it would create a sheet of glass. This glass gets broken up by the storm and incorporated into it. Now you have a pressure sander full of irradiated glass, tearing the flesh off of anything that gets caught in the storm. Now that is what I think actually happened to the marked men. That they are the way they are, flayed, really, from the irradiated glass sand of the Divide. It also explains why they can't die, because we know ghouls can die from, trauma. Right? You can kill ghouls in the game. They can die from trauma. But if the glass is sufficiently radioactive, and as it tears the flesh from the ghouls, it deposits enough of this radioactive material into them to keep them from dying. That could explain why the ghouls there are the way they are, why the marked men are the way they are. And if Caesar's Legion knew why they were there after they became the marked men, they very well could have shared this information with the remnants of the NCR troops that, they were now stuck in the Divide with. There are very few ways into and out of the Divide. In-game, we only know of one, which is that is by the way of the canyon wreckage, which leads you through the mountains, right? Like I said, Ashton, or Ashtown, whatever the place's actual name was, is along a highway leading northwest out of Vegas. We enter the Divide from the southwest, which means we go up and through the mountains, one of the secret ways into the Divide. Now, we do have to use a military base, which we need to get the robot for, and he helps unlock, and that allows us to fully go through. And since the defensive systems are still in place in the base, that means no one's been through it, which means this isn't the way the courier normally goes. But the canyon wreckage being there, and allowing you to cut up through this canyon that leads to the Divide, maybe the area that you come out to wasn't always a sheer cliff that dropped off into nothingness. Maybe it was a hill that slowly led down to the roadways and the towns and the like. After all, there are massive pipes jutting out of the walls here, still leaking, which means some type of infrastructure is still flowing. You don't just have a pipe lead out of a cliff face to just dump stuff down onto the ground. That means that there was infrastructure under the ground here, which means the ground gave way. Again, the Divide split, which is why it's called the Divide, so it makes sense. This may have been the way the courier always took to get into the Divide. A gap in the sandstorm, so to speak. Now, the NCR and the Legion wouldn't have necessarily known of this exact place. Maybe the original way that was used was blocked. Maybe there's multiple ways in and out that are just hidden places. We don't know. Now, just gonna circle back to a few things for the theories, so to speak, there. Maybe thinking if the NCR did it, why did they leave troops there, knowing full well what was gonna happen? Well, to confirm that the divide was destroyed. Now, if memory serves me correctly, Joshua Graham also talks about how the storms from the divide also go so far as to reach Death Valley, and that this is somehow cut off supply lines for the NCR in some way, shape, or form. It's interesting to think that the tech could be going further and further out of control, allowing this irradiated glass sandstorm to scour further and further out from the divide. Now, with that, this is pretty much the second time I've had to go through and record this because, yeah, that's fun. Anyway, thank you for watching, if you are. Thanks again, Eric Hewitt. Thanks for sticking around, man. Means a lot to me. With that, I'm going to finish this and hopefully get it uploaded maybe before it gets too late tonight, or maybe I'll set it for midday tomorrow. Not entirely sure yet. Another side note is that new PC is all set up. It's working great. Putting software and stuff on it for recording, and like I said, wanna stream some more again. Figuring out using normal OBS for that. I guess Streamlabs is a better setup. I'm messing around with that, seeing how that works. Tuning the microphone and stuff because I don't like wearing a headset. I don't like what it does to my situational awareness. So, got my directional microphone and all that going, and the speakers broken by line of sight, pointing toward the wall that's covered in sound foam. Turned down so I can hear them, but the mic can't pick it up. Have noise gate set up so that even when I'm not talking, it's not going to pick up any background noise. It's taken a while to tune it just right, but I think it'll turn out pretty good. Still trying to figure out the best days to stream. Anyway, I might do a few late night streams just because, no idea if you could hear that, but that was my alarm to fill the dishwasher going off. But yeah, maybe a few late night streams, just hang out, play something, make sure everything works just fine. I know there's quite a few people from across the fucking ocean that watch, so it'd probably be a good time for them. So yeah, I'm gonna edit this, all my gaps and pauses and stuff out of it. It's 5:32 p.m. right now. Toss the recorded Fallout footage behind it, and yeah, it'll take a little while. So probably by the time you're seeing this anyway, midday Tuesday. Alright, I'm gonna head out and finish this then.